Hey there, math students. We have more equations for you today. Today's work is going to build on what we did the last 2 days. Yesterday and the day before, we were doing one-step equations. Today's I can statement is I can solve two-step equations. So there will be some review, and let's start with review. For the warm-up, it says the goal of solving an equation is to get the variable, that's the letter, on one side all by itself. We want it all alone, so that we can read off the answer on the other side. The answer, also known as the solution, is the number that makes the equation true. When is the equation true? The equation is true when the left-hand side and the right-hand side are equal to each other, like 7 equals 7 or 4 equals 4. If it said 7 equals 4, then that is not true. Okay, part B, this is just some equation practice. If you guys want to try this on your own, hit pause and then check back in with me, or you can just do it with me. We need the variable by itself, so that's y, right? That means we need to get rid of this 16. So let's do that by subtracting. Why am I subtracting 16? Because it says right now it's adding 16, and we have to do the inverse operation of that, which is subtracting. So we're going to subtract 16 from both sides, because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. All right, let's go. That cancels, and y is going to equal negative 26. Let's do the next one. We need that a by itself. We have a positive 4, so we're going to subtract it out, minus 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. That cancels, and we're left with negative a. So what are we going to do with that? You can either think about dividing by negative 1 on both sides, or you can just think, well, I'm going to take the opposite of both sides. Either way, you're going to get negative 3 equals regular old a. And now the a is truly by itself, and that's your answer there. 52 equals 13b. So this is multiplying right here, which means to get rid of the 13, we're going to have to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. Divide by 13, divide by 13. And so b is going to equal, what is that? Oh, I don't know. 52 divided by 13 is 4. I should have been able to do that. Sorry, guys. 4 equals b. And then over here, we have x being divided by negative 4. What's the opposite of divide? Multiply. So if you multiply both sides by negative 4, don't forget that negative. Multiply by negative 4 on both sides. That cancels, and you'll get x equals negative 10 times negative 4 is going to be positive 40. All right, I hope you got all of those. And let's go on to our two-step section. It says, in the last section we solved one-step equations which required only one step. Gee whiz. To solve the equation. In this section, we're going to look at equations that require more than one step, specifically 2 steps. Okay, if you learn the concepts we're going to talk about today, you will be better able to solve any equation in the future. Here are the fundamental ideas involved in solving almost any equation. Okay, first of all, isolate the variable term. Okay, before we go any further, what does isolate mean? Isolate means get by itself. You want it all alone, totally alone. Just like we have here, x is alone on its side of the equal sign. Here, a is alone on its side of the equal sign. That's what you want. You want to isolate the variable term. Okay, now what is term? Let's just look down here. Each one of these things that are separated by a plus or minus sign is a term. So here's one term. Here's another term. Over here, here's a term. Here's a term. And you know what? This is a term also. I was just kind of ignoring them because they're on the other side of the equal sign. But those are all terms. 5 and x in the negative, that's all part of one term because it's not separated by a plus or minus sign. It's just a negative 5x. Okay, so step 1 is to isolate the variable term, and we'll see that in practice in a second. And then you want to isolate the variable itself. If that doesn't make sense, just stick with me. We're going to go over this. So let's do example A. We have x over 9 plus 2 equals negative 7. Now we want to isolate the variable term. So the variable term is this one right here. We want to isolate that first, which means we need to get rid of this plus 2. How are we going to get rid of the plus 2? We're going to do minus 2. Good. Just like we did a couple days ago, we're going to do the opposite of adding, which is minus. So these will cancel. You're left with that same term, x over 9 equals, let's see, negative 7 minus 2 is going to give us negative 9. Okay, now this looks like one of the problems that we might have seen yesterday. We have x divided by 9, so to get rid of the 9, all we have to do is multiply by 9. And by the way, what we're doing right now, that's this step right here, isolate the variable. Okay, these are going to cancel. You're going to get x equals negative 81. Did you see how that worked? Let's do another example. So we have all of these terms. We're going to first isolate the variable term. So you want to isolate this one right here. So to get that by itself, you need to get rid of the 7. Right now it's plus 7, so to get rid of it, we're going to do minus 7. Okay, those will cancel and go to 0, and let's bring down everything else. Negative 3 minus 7 is going to give us negative 10, and then we'll bring down the negative 5x. Okay, now we have isolated the variable term. On to step 2, which is to isolate the variable, which is that x, right? So it looks like we need to get rid of the negative 5. Right now it's negative 5 times x. We're going to get rid of it by dividing by negative 5. These cancel. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is going to give us 2. And then we have nothing left over here except the x. So we're just going to write the x. And now our x is all nice and isolated all by itself, and our equation is solved. If you're feeling brave, stop the video. Try C by yourself. I'm going to go ahead and underline my terms. We have 12, we have 8y, and we have negative 6. Now, which one of those terms is the variable term? That's right, it's this one. So that's what we want by itself. So let's get rid of the negative 6, or the minus 6, whichever way you want to say it. If right now it's minus 6, we need to do the opposite, which is to add 6. We'll do it to both sides, and we're going to get 18 equals 8y, and that just cancels out. Okay, and now we need to divide by 8 because we want to isolate the variable, so we got to get rid of the 8. 18 divided by 8, that does not really go even, does it? So that cancels and you get y, and then I'm just going to do this. Now you get 2.25, or you can get 2 1/4 equals y. Either one of those would be correct. Okay, let's go on to D. If you got that, good work, especially with the fraction or decimal in there. Nice job. Let's go on to D. Again, if you'd like to try this by yourself, go ahead and stop your video now. We have those 3 terms. Which one of them is the variable term? It's this one. So it needs to be by itself. That means we got to get rid of the 4. It's a positive 4, so let's get rid of it by minusing 4. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. These 4's got canceled, and now we just have x over negative 10. So now to isolate the variable, like we do in step 2, we just got to get rid of the negative 10. So right now it's x divided by 10. We're going to get rid of it by timesing by negative 10. So those cancel out. Negative 10 times negative 10 is going to give us positive 100. Sorry guys, my phone's going crazy. I don't know what's going on. We'll just keep ignoring it. Now let's do letter E. In fact, we're going to silence that. There we go. Okay, if you'd like to pause your video, go right ahead. Here's our terms. We have negative 15, negative 2, and negative x over 5. Which one of those has a variable in it? That x over 5 one, the negative x over 5, we want that by itself. So let's get rid of the minus 2. So let's add 2 to both sides. Okay, negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. Those are going to cancel, and we're left with the negative x over 5. Don't forget that negative sign. Now here, when you have the negative in front of the fraction, it doesn't matter where you put the negative. You can choose to put it on the top, or you can choose to put it on the bottom. You cannot put it on both. You can choose one or the other. I'm going to put it on the 5 right now, because that's going to allow me to just multiply through by negative 5 and then the negative is going to be gone. If I put it on the x, then it would still be on the x and we would have one more step to do, but it would work. It's just one more step. So we have it on the -5 now. We're going to multiply it through by that -5 so that we get rid of that. And now 5 times 13 is going to give us 65. Excuse me, -5 times -13 gives us +65. And then that one is solved. Did you get it? Good job if you did. If you haven't tried one by yourself yet, try it on letter F. Go ahead and pause your video now. Okay, I have these 3 terms underlined. It looks like we need this -9k by itself because that's the variable term. So let's start by getting rid of the 3. Subtract your 3. And you're going to be left with -9k equals 69. -69 minus 3 is going to give us -72. We have the same signs, so we have to add and keep, right? And now you just have to get the k by itself, so you want to divide through by -9 on both sides. This cancels. You're left with k equals 8, because a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive. And that is how that works. Let's read a little bit more. We can understand why we isolate the variable term first by thinking about the order of operations. Yeah, so you remember PEMDAS, right? So parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, add and subtract. Okay, so when we're doing equations, we're undoing things. So we have to do the order of operations backwards. I know, crazy, right? So we're going this way. So we're going to undo any addition and subtraction first, which is what we did in each of these cases. Every time when we found the variable term and isolated it first, that resulted us in doing the adding and subtracting first, and then the multiplying and dividing second. So if you'd rather think of it that way, you can, or you can just think of it as getting the variable term by itself first. Let's do example 1. It says solve each equation by listing the order that operations were done to the variable and then undoing them. Okay, so let's think about it this way. If we were just doing the math, say there was a number here instead of an x. Say there was a 6. I'm just making this up. Let's pretend that x is a 6. If you have 6 divided by 9 plus 2, what would you do to the 6 first? Would you do the divide or would you do the add first? Yeah, you would divide first because PEMDAS, you have to do the multiply and divide before you do the add and subtract. Now when we're solving the equation, we got to do all of that backwards. So since you just told me we would do the division first if we were just doing the math on it, that means we got to do it backwards and do the addition first for the undoing. So we would subtract 2, and that would give us x over 9 equals -9. And from there, we would multiply through by 9 to get our answer. Okay, you guys know how to solve that. You would get x equals -81. Over here, same thing. Pretend you had a number here instead of an x. Say it was a 10. If you had -5 times 10 plus 7, like what if it was written like this? -5 times 10 plus 7. What would you do first? Would you add these two or would you multiply these two? Yeah, you have to do the multiplication first and then the add. So if you were just doing the math, that would be the order. When you're solving the equation, everything goes in reverse. So we're going to undo the adding first and then undo the multiplying. So that results in us going -7 on both sides. And then that just equals -5x. And then let's undo the multiplication by dividing. And you get x equals 2. Okay, let's take a look over at your homework. Not your homework, because you're doing all of this at home, right? Oh, okay, maybe it's all homework. I try to call it the assignment, and then sometimes it comes out wrong. So on this, there's quite a few problems. Just like the last 2 days, we are going to do the first 14 problems. So you can stop right here. Don't worry about those. I will solve one of them with you. Let's do number 5 together. Okay, just to get you started. So we have 6 plus x over 7 equals 8. Which one of those is the term with the variable? Right there, it's the term with the variable. So we're going to keep that. We're going to try to isolate that. In order for this to be isolated, in other words, alone, Mr. 6 over here, he needs to go bye-bye. So how do we make Mr. 6 go bye-bye? We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, so 6 minus 6 equals 0. Bye-bye, 6. Now we have x over 7. 8 minus 6 equals 2. And now we have to actually get the variable itself all by itself. So we got to get rid of 7 this time. To get rid of the 7, we just need to multiply by 7 on both sides. That cancels, and you're left with x equals 14. That's how it works. If you have questions about this, be sure to join me on the next study session. The next one will be Monday at 11. And if you have other questions that you want answered before then, wait, no, today, I'm getting my days mixed up, guys. Our study sessions are Mondays at 11 and Wednesdays at 2. So I'll let you figure out what's coming up next. And you can always send me a message too. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you next time. Bye.